Hello everybody and welcome to a new Polowow video. I am Polo and well, here we are on January the 1st of the year 2020. So, Happy New Year to all of you who are watching us right now. I'm wishing you all the best for this next year that is already here among us. I just finished wrapping up the party with some friends and family members because we're actually recording this video at the first few hours of this brand new year. So, may you complete all your objectives, may all your objectives be achieved, may you find happiness and joy and peace, and may the light embrace you, of course. So, without further ado, I wanted to tell you that I'm coming back after a very long hiatus because I was busy with some other projects, but I thought it was a really good time to come back and talk about World of Warcraft because, well, lots of things are happening. First of all, as you all know, World of Warcraft just celebrated its 15th anniversary, and they gave us this really cool token where we can gather up some new experience and whatnot. I myself celebrated my 10th anniversary playing World of Warcraft. That's right, I started my adventure on Azeroth on November of 2009 thanks to a really good friend of mine called Tito. Yes, you are to blame for my addiction to World of Warcraft, which I am grateful for because I love this game. And as you all know, one of the main reasons why I love and I keep playing this game is because of the lore. And as you may also know, we're just a couple of days away from the release of the patch 8.3, which will bring the content of, well, the ending of this current expansion, which is Battle for Azeroth. Afterwards, there will not be any new content before the new expansion comes, which will be the Shadowlands. So, why am I coming back right now? Well, I want to talk to you about two changes that are coming to the channel. As you know, I normally talk about gaming stuff, but I mostly focus on World of Warcraft content. So I want to bring two different series, two different types of videos that I want to start working on this year. And which better time to begin all this new adventure on the channel than the very first day on the very first hours of this very new year. So I want to bring you two different types of videos, or two different series, we could call them. The first one will be a series of mysteries and spooky things that you can find of Azeroth. There are plenty of this type of videos and YouTubers that talk about creepy stuff and mysterious stuff that you can find on Azeroth. I'm a complete fan of all those videos. I love all that content, all the creepy stuff that you can find, some corpses and some Easter eggs that you find hidden behind the bushes, or some strange buildings or structures that you find in some places that you really cannot understand or cannot explain why they're there. All those types of things. I've found my share of strange things that I've found in the game, so I just want to record and I want to prepare videos talking and try to decipher why those things are there at that place, in that zone, in that map on Azeroth or outside of Azeroth, and show them to you so we can all talk about them and try to understand where they're coming from. So those series will come later, maybe on January or maybe in February. But before that, I want to bring you another type of videos, which will be a series called World of Warcraft Lore. It's not a fancy name, but we're just going to talk about different types of things related to the lore in the game, especially talking about Shadowlands because that is the expansion where we're moving towards. So, while I was thinking about different subjects that we could talk about related to the Shadowlands, I got into the subject, or I finally arrived at the subject of the fight against the Lich King. Way back then on the expansion Wrath of the Lich King, of course. Some of you may have played during the day, back in the year 2010, 2011. And some of you, like me, may have just been going over and over to the Icecrown Citadel raid in order to farm Invincible, which, by the way, I already have. Ha ha ha. Yes, you can hate me, all of you who don't have it. So, why do I want to talk about that fight right now that we're moving to the Shadowlands? Well, A lot of different strange things happened during that fight, especially in the end. This fight was not a common fight against a raid boss. It wasn't just go fight the boss, defeat it, the expansion is over. No. This time, a lot of different stuff had to happen in order for us to win the fight. So, one of those things, one of those characters, is the main focus of the subject. The first subject about my lore videos that I want to bring you in this year, 2020. And that is one of the most beloved kings of the Alliance and of the humans, which is of course King Terenas II. And why do I want to talk about him? And why is it related to the Shadowlands and creepiest stuff? Well, hear me out. First of all, before I move along, I want to tell you that if you don't know the story about King Terenas II, I strongly recommend you that you read the novel Tides of War. I think that's the name of the book. I'm gonna place the cover of the novel and the name of the novel over here somewhere on the screen, so you can go check it out because it's a really cool read. It's one of the best novels out there from the World of Warcraft lore. And if you don't have time to read the whole book, then at least go and look up the story of King Terenas, because it's really cool. But mostly because I want you to have some context to what I want to talk about. So, in a quick overview of his life, King Terenas II was a really cool leader. He was beloved by his people. He was the king of the kingdom of Lordarion, or the capital city of Lordarion, as it was called back then. And, he had, from what I understand, two sons, Arthas and Kalia Menethil. So, yeah, these two characters. These two characters. But King Terenas was a really cool leader. He was a strategist and he defended his kingdom in different occasions. He was the one who created the first alliance, actually. And, well, he was also murdered by his son. He found his demise by the hands of Arthas. When Arthas came back from Northrend, when he had just got hold of Frostmourne, and he became a Death Knight under the service of the Lich King back then, which was Ner'zhul. So he murdered his dad. Arthas murdered King Terenas II, and he also ended up his kingdom, because Arthas let loose the whole army of the Scourge. They destroyed the whole area. They murdered hundreds of thousands of citizens, and the ones who remained were brave enough to pick up the body of the king, cremate it, and put it inside a magic urn. This magic urn was delivered to Uther the Lightbringer, none other than Uther the Lightbringer. Uther had the quest of bringing this magical urn with which contained the ashes of King Terenas II into a holy place, which will serve as the final resting place of the king. However, Arthas, not knowing that his father's ashes were inside an urn, Arthas wanted or needed that magic urn because the Lich King back then told him that that urn was needed in order to resurrect Kel'Thuzad, another one of his minions back then. So Arthas confronts Uther. Long story short, they have a really powerful, very hateful and difficult fight. But Arthas gains the upper hand and he kills Uther. So Arthas takes the urn, and that's the last we hear about King Terenas until the fight against the Lich King, against Arthas during Wrath of the Lich King. So, what are the strange things that happen that are related to King Terenas? Well, hear me out, and I want to hear you guys. I want to hear your opinion, because this is something that blows me in so many levels. It makes my head explode. It completely shatters what I think about those characters and what happened that day when we fought against the Lich King. So, if you guys remember that fight against Arthas, we keep fighting him, we fight against him, we think we have the upper hand against Arthas, but then we find out that Arthas was just toying with us all along. He uses his spell, I think it's called Harvest Soul, and with that spell he traps some of us, some of our souls, into Frostmourne. The other ones we keep fighting him on the reality realm, on the physical realm, but those souls go inside the blade, and we find that King Terenas' soul, his spirit form, his ethereal, transparent form, is there, and he helps us fight whatever force is keeping us inside the blade, and he helps us get out of the blade so we can keep fighting his son. How did King Terenas did that? How did he had the power to do that? Why wasn't there any other souls on a corporeal form helping us out? I don't know, but that's one of the first strange things that happened during the fight. Anyway, we keep fighting Arthas, and Arthas finally, well, finds out what he wanted to find out about all those champions that fought against him that fateful day. Arthas was just toying with us. He was all along in control of the fight. What he wanted was to find out if we were, oh well, those champions, if those champions back then were the ones capable of having the title of the strongest champions of Azeroth, the strongest soldiers that Azeroth had to offer. And he found out that they were actually the ones, because they were capable of getting into the Ice Crown, defeating all his minions, and putting a good fight against him. So he kills them all. They lay down their death. They are dead. This is canon. And then he reveals his plan to all of us. And then he starts bringing us back, bringing those champions back, in order to transform them into his obedient servers, his obedient Death Knights, becoming his stronger, the strongest army that Azeroth will I mean, we were going to decimate the whole planet. The thing is, Arthas wanted to transform us into his obedient Death Knights, and he will have the strongest army on Azeroth. That was reality. I mean, think about it. Both the Alliance or the Horde were giving it all, and had already lost a lot of lives, a lot of soldiers, and a lot of innocent lives against the fight, against the Lich King. And the strongest of them all would have been converted, transformed into Lich King's servants. So they would have been vulnerable to a Lich King counterattack. The Lich King could have completely conquered all the kingdoms and all the living creatures on Azeroth. That was his plan, and it was a really good plan. That would have happened if it wasn't for, number one, Tyrion, who, by his connection with a strong connection to the light, and by praying to the light, asking it to grant him power to shatter these bonds. Remember, that's what he cries out to the light. And yes, he receives the blessing of the light. You can see the halo of light surrounding the block of ice where Tyrion was entrapped by Arthas. So Tyrion shatters that block of ice. He launches himself towards Arthas, and with a single blow of the Ashbringer, he completely obliterates Frostmourne. This leaves Arthas in shock, and all of a sudden all the souls that were entrapped by Frostmourne escape the sword, and they start circling Arthas all around. They entrap him, and they lift him from the ground. Arthas is completely immobilized. He cannot do anything. He's still in shock also. And then all of a sudden, the second strange thing happens in the fight. King Terenas appears as an ethereal, transparent spirit form. But he's capable to do that. My question is, how does he do that? I bring this question because I read his story, and I really have no idea where he found the power to do that. I mean, he was a strong leader, he was a great king, but he wasn't a paladin, he wasn't a priest, he didn't have powers, from what I understand, so how was he capable of manifesting in front of the other people on the physical realm? I don't know. But not only that, King Terenas also is capable of speaking to us, speaking to Tyrion, and to all the dead bodies, all the corpses that lay down on the floor. While Arthas is still struggling against the souls that were entrapped inside of Frostmourne, King Terenas starts telling us all that this is the time to resurrect the fallen, and this is the time to bring out the champions of Azeroth and to stop the Lich King once and for all. So, and let me read you exactly what happens. This is canon. This is exactly what happens during the fight. So, as the souls claimed by Frostmourne swirled around the Lich King, Terenas' spirit appeared in front of all of us to resurrect the dead, to finish off the immobilized Master of the Scourge, Arthas the Lich King. To resurrect the dead. We were dead. I have no idea why I haven't found any videos from the really powerful and famous YouTubers that talk about World of Warcraft lore out there in the world. Talking about this, I haven't seen Pyromancer or Novel or other great YouTubers out there, which, by the way, Happy New Year to all of you guys. If you ever get to see this video, because I don't think you will, but anyway, I haven't heard or seen anyone talking about this. I haven't found articles talking about this. I just found a forum from way back then, in the year 2011, some guy on a forum on blizzard.com talking about this, and some people speculate that, yeah, well, the paladins and the priests and the people who can resurrect others, they are capable of doing that because you are not quite dead yet during a battle. When they execute the battle resurrect spell, or whatever it's called, they're not really dead. It's just a quick re-energizing or returning all the life or the stamina to your body, and then you can get up again. Kind of like what Anduin did on the cinematic video for this current expansion, Battle for Azeroth. If you remember, during that fight against Sylvanas and the Horde, Anduin starts calling power from the light, and he casts this humongous spell where he brings back the soldiers who were completely tired, but they were not dead. He did not resurrect them. He casted a healing spell. But healing them is one thing. Resurrecting people from the dead is another. And yes, gameplay-wise, we resurrect every single day when we get killed on the game, and we go to the Shadowlands, actually, and this Valkyr type of beings bring us back to the realm of the physical realm. But in lore-wise, resurrecting people, bringing them back from the dead, is not a common thing. It's something that is only performed by necromancy, which is not bringing people back to the world of the living, or by very powerful or divine beings. Bringing back people from the dead is not a common thing. This doesn't really happen. So, how did King Terenas II was capable of manifesting himself in a spirit form, in transparent ethereal form in front of us, resurrecting us all, and then summoning a sword to his side, which was also uncorporeal, it was transparent, it was a spirit sword, but made it possible to hurt a physical body in the physical realm. He was also attacking Arthas, if you remember. I'm trying to show you this moment. So, how did he do that? Not only did he manifest himself in front of us, not only was he capable of speaking to us, not only was he capable of resurrecting us all, but also summoned some ghost sword, and with that spirit transparent form was capable of hurting someone on the physical realm. I would understand that at least it would take some humongous amount of power to be able to do something like that. Wouldn't you agree? Again, if we take a look at King Terenas' life, we can see that he was not a paladin, he was not a priest, he did not have any powers. He hadn't even healed anyone, for Christ's sake. So, how did he do that? Really, how did he do that? If you think about it, and if you have read a little bit about what's going to happen with us when we travel to the Shadowlands, you know that we're going to have to choose from different bastions. I think that's how they're called. And depending on the bastion that you choose, which is like the new factions on the Shadowlands, they will grant you some powers once you are completely on their side, right? You can read about all this stuff, by the way, on Wowhead and different other sites, of course on Blizzard.com. But do you think that they would grant the power of resurrection to a spirit? I don't think so. The whole thing, all the deeds that King Terenas performed during that fight against Arthas are completely supernatural. I know this is a fantasy world, but even that fantasy world, World of Warcraft world, and its lore have its rules and limits. Then how come all of a sudden a spirit who was just the spirit of a human was capable of resurrecting people, bringing them back from death, and doing all the things he did? Here's the tricky part of the video and the nitty-gritty of the subject that I'm focusing on today on this first Polo WoW Lore video. I have a theory. I believe that that was not the spirit of King Terenas. I believe there's a chance that that manifestation of King Terenas' spirit was actually the work of the old gods. And I have some strong evidence that supports my theory. Let me try to explain. So, first of all, we have seen this before. Other forces can use the spirit form of some dead relative in order to talk to you, in order to fool you and trick you into doing something they want. I'm going to give you a good example. Kil'jaeden tricked Ner'zhul way back when the Horde wasn't even a Horde. The beginning, on another novel that I totally recommend that you guys check it out if you haven't already, which is called The Rise of the Horde. The beginning, as you know, Kil'jaeden, way back then, he wanted to kill all the Draenei that escaped from the hands of Sargeras and the Burning Legion. He thought it was a treason from Valen's part that he abandoned his brothers Kil'jaeden and Archimonde. He's nuts. So he wanted to murder them all. And in order to do that, that last time, when he was chasing the Draenei from planet to planet, he found that the Draenei had crashed onto a planet called Draenor, where there were all these other beings called the Orcs. And so Kil'jaeden had a different strategy. He normally would have sent demons to go hunt down the surviving Draenei and Velen. But that time, what he decided was to trick one of the leaders of the Orcs into fighting the Draenei and doing the dirty work for him, for Kil'jaeden. How did Kil'jaeden did that? Well, he got into the mind and the memories of Ner'zhul. He found out that Ner'zhul's wife was dead. He found out that the Orcs were believers of being capable of talking to the souls of their dead relatives by some strange rituals, which was, I think it was inhaling some strange hallucinogenic drug or powder or whatever. Anyway, the thing is that Kil'jaeden found out about that, so in one night he got inside into one of Ner'zhul's dreams or visions with the form of his dead wife, of Ner'zhul's dead wife. And he used her form, her shape of her body and her voice, and he talked to Ner'zhul through the dead wife's spirit. And Kil'jaeden told Ner'zhul that the Draenei were a threat, and that all the Orcish clans had to unite to form the Horde in order to fight the Draenei and save themselves. This was a ruse, this was a scam that Kil'jaeden prepared, but he used the spirit, the shape and form of an already dead orc in that time. And we've seen this done by other characters as well. The Old Gods have used this before. For instance, Yogg-Saron used the form of, I think it was, what was the name of the Titan Keeper? Tor? Was it? I don't remember his name, but if you remember, Loken was fighting all the other keepers because he became completely crazy thanks to the whispers of the Old Gods. And they used the spirit of Thor's wife or lover or companion or whatever you want to call it, in order to appear in front of him and trick him. And you can see her on the fight against Yogg-Saron way back then on the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. You can see her floating in front of Yogg-Saron. So they have used this method before. It's not crazy to believe that the Old Gods, Yogg-Saron in this time around, could have used the form, the spirit of King Terenas to do his bidding. Remember that Icecrown Citadel was constructed using Saronite. What is Saronite? Saronite is the blood of Yogg-Saron, an Old God. So they're surrounded by the Old God's influence and whispers. So, hear me out. What if Yogg-Saron and the Old Gods foresaw that the Lich King's victory, Arthas' victory, will hinder or damage their possibilities of breaking out in the future? Let's think about what would have happened if King Terenas had not appeared, manifested himself that day to help us out against Arthas. Well, we would have been resurrected as Death Knight servants of the Lich King. With all of us resurrected, maybe we would have been capable of defeating Tyrion. Maybe Arthas would have been capable of transforming Tyrion into another Death Knight. And then Arthas would have had the strongest army on Azeroth. They would have been capable of destroying what was left of the Horde and the Alliance forces, and they would have conquered the planet. So imagine a world of Azeroth with only Scourge walking around, killing whatever living creature would have survived the onslaught. Imagine Arthas controlling them and looking at his dry, dead planet, which is his new kingdom. Why would this affect the Old Gods? I believe there are many answers to that question, but I'm going to give you the easy one that will answer this, and what makes my theory possibly correct. Well, maybe the Old Gods knew that if Arthas destroyed the Horde and the Alliance, it would have destroyed and killed and murdered and disappeared all the living creatures capable of being corrupted by the Old Gods. Maybe all the Scourge and Arthas are immune to the Old Gods' commands. Maybe. And if that is true, then having a world with only Scourge walking around Azeroth would have completely destroyed the possibilities of the Old Gods possessing or corrupting the minds of living creatures that will help them escape their prisons. Think about it. Thanks to King Terenas' help, we defeated Arthas. Thanks to that, the Horde and the Alliance have become stronger and stronger forces on Azeroth. Thanks to that, there are still living creatures on Azeroth. Thanks to that, we were capable of bringing all that Azerite to Ashara. And thanks to that, we helped them free Ensoth. Whoosh! So what do you think about that? Guys, this is crazy, I know. There are some things that may counter my theory. For instance, Tyrion would have been capable of breaking out from the block of ice and destroyed Frostmourne. But was Frostmourne the only thing that allowed Arthas to resurrect the death and transform him into his obedient servants? I don't think so. I think the Lich King's power was inside not only of Frostmourne but also his armor, but specifically his helmet. Remember what happened when Sylvanas destroyed the helmet, when she ripped it apart. All the power of the Lich King just blew away, and a lot of souls and shadow power escaped from the helmet. So I believe, even though Tyrion would have escaped and destroyed Frostmourne, maybe Arthas would be capable of defeating or stopping Tyrion in one other way or another. And maybe he would have succeeded. Maybe Arthas would have been capable of defeating of defeating Tyrion, resurrecting us all, making his army stronger, the strongest on Azeroth, and transforming Azeroth into an undead realm. Scourge realm. Scourge planet. Planet of the Scourge. What do you think about that, guys? Maybe the old gods needed us alive. Maybe the old gods needed the Horde and Alliance to defeat the Lich King in order to stop the Lich King to transform us into the Scourge. Because the old gods needed living flesh beings that are easily corruptible in order to manipulate events that will lead them into us freeing Ensoth from his prison. Holy crap! I think that is a very strong theory. I would love it if any of you guys, boys and girls, would come and leave your comments down below, and I would love it if we could discuss and debate this theory, because I'm mind blown right now. And just like we did with this video, I will bring you more different subjects about World of Warcraft lore, especially now that we're going to the Shadowlands. And if you have some comments about my theory of why King Terenas was there, King Terenas was there in the fight against the Lich King, please let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. May you have a very happy new year, a new leap around the sun, and may all your wishes come true. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video, and may the light embrace you.